What I've learned in the past many months is that the United States of America, the republic formed by God, got transferred into the United States of America, the corporation, in 1871, because we had to borrow money. And so we came along and we got debt issued by the bankers run by the Rothschild family. And then in 1911 or 12, we could not pay our bills and they took over our banking system. We got to get the Rothschilds out of our country. They ran up our debt to the point where we've got dollar bills that aren't worth the paper they're written on. We need to go back to the gold standard. Now, we got some other folks that came along behind them. We got John D. Rockefeller. John D. Rockefeller found out that he could make a fortune by using oil to manufacture pharmaceuticals. So John D. Rockefeller, not a doctor, formed the American Medical Association. And then they propagandized and said that the naturalist doctors were quacks. No, they're not. The pharmaceutical industry in this country is evil. They have gotten you sick. They have gotten you tied to their medications and taken you away from the natural things that God created to heal the people that He created to live on this earth. It's time to go back to the natural medicine. It's time to get rid of the pharmaceuticals. And then you got a guy now, Bill Gates. He got the same medical degree that John D. Rockefeller got. They don't have one. And then he comes up over years creating pharmaceuticals related to the manufacture not of a natural virus, but of COVID. It's patented. And then he has the vaccine, Moderna. Follow the money. See who owns Pfizer. Who owns Johnson & Johnson. Bill Gates wants to depopulate the world. So did Henry Kissinger. The wealthy elite want to kill the middle class in this country. They don't want to cure you. They don't want to keep you from getting COVID. They want to kill you and depopulate you so that there can be a ruling elite and a servant class. We're not going to let it happen to us in America, are we? They're not going to take away our freedoms and our opportunity. They're going to give everybody in this country what God gave us, the opportunity to take the talents He gave us to work hard and to improve our lives. That's the opportunity provided by freedom. They're not going to take it away from us. And when we find out what they've done over the years and the lies they've told, and we potentially learn that they could have cured cancer 30 or 40 years ago, do you know how many people they've killed for money?
So we'll have to prepare for the next one. That, I'd say is will get attention this time.
And we're taking things that are, genetically modified organisms, and we're injecting them in little kids' arms. We just shoot them right into the vein. Meet with scientists. We see a lot of things that are going very well, things like reducing childhood death, and
but you don't have a choice. People act like you have a choice. Normalcy only returns when we've largely vaccinated the entire global population.
Robert Kennedy Jr. was advising him that vaccines were causing bad things, and I said, no, that's a dead end. That would be a bad thing. Don't do that.
A shocking new report from the New York Times sheds light on the connection between Microsoft founder Bill Gates and the late Jeffrey Epstein.
Not only does he have the world's largest charitable foundation, but one of their primary missions is to help young women in underprivileged countries. Jeffrey Epstein was preying on young women from Eastern Europe, from South Africa, luring them into his web. It's the antithesis of what the Gates Foundation stands for. And by the way, there were Gates Foundation employees who were horrified when they realized what Jeffrey Epstein had done and was saying, we don't want to have anything to do with this, and yet the project went on.
Eventually, what we'll have to have is certificates of who's a recovered person, who's a vaccinated person, because you don't want people moving around the world where you'll have some countries that won't have it under control. Sadly, you don't want to completely block off the ability for those, people to go there and come back and move around. So eventually there will be sort of this digital immunity proof that, will help facilitate the global reopening up. One final way that's new and is promising is called the RNA vaccine. With RNA and DNA, instead of putting that shape in, you put instructions in the code to make that shape.
That John D. Rockefeller seized U.S. media, he also hijacked U.S. medicine. When it was discovered that drugs could be produced from petroleum, America's top oil mogul ordered his army of propagandists to invert reality accordingly. Medicines used for thousands of years were suddenly classified as alternative, while the new, petroleum-based, highly addictive, and patentable drugs were declared the gold standard. After buying a German pharmaceutical company that manufactured chemicals of war for Adolf Hitler, Rockefeller leveraged his political influence by pressing Congress to declare natural healing modalities unscientific quackery. Rockefeller then took control of the American Medical Association and began offering massive grants to top medical schools under the mandate that only his approved curriculum be taught. Any mention of the healing powers of herbs, plants, and diet was erased from most medical textbooks. Doctors and professors who objected to Rockefeller's plan were crucified by the media, removed from the AMA, and stripped of their license to teach and practice medicine. Those who dared to speak out were arrested and jailed. When evidence began to emerge that petroleum-based medicines were causing cancer, Mr. Rockefeller founded the American Cancer Society, through which he suppressed that information. John D. Rockefeller is duly credited as the founder of the pharmaceutical industry, and the reason that medical error is currently the third leading cause of death in America. This is not an indictment against doctors. More than anyone, they are under the stranglehold of the single largest lobbying power in Washington. Every year, the pharmaceutical industry spends at least twice the amount as big oil to influence laws, policies, and public perception. Thanks to Mr. Rockefeller, the architect of American monopolies, no industry has more power over our lives.
Is everyone that's getting the vaccine in the clinical trial, or is it only some of the vaccines are in the clinical trial? I'm very confused on that.
No problem. Let me go ahead. Before I read or get that answer to you, I just have to read a quick disclaimer from Moderna and the FDA. So the Moderna COVID-19 vaccine has not been approved or licensed by the Food and Drug Administration, but it has been authorized for emergency use by the FDA under an emergency use authorization to prevent coronavirus disease 2019 for use in individuals 18 years of age and older. There is no FDA-approved vaccine to prevent COVID-19. The EUA for the Moderna COVID-19 vaccine is in effect for the duration of the COVID-19 EUA declaration, justifying emergency use of the product, unless that declaration is terminated or the authorization is revoked sooner.
Okay, so everybody who's getting these vaccines right now is in the clinical trial. It's not like some of us got it and some of us didn't. Like, everyone who's getting it is in and participating in the clinical trial.
Pretty much. I mean, yeah. Because
Okay.